Hey everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to today's AFK journey video. So Merry Christmas to all my viewers, and in today's video, we're going to run through all the meta team combos with regards to the different squads for Ravaged Realm here. So before we start, just a disclaimer, today's video will not be a video for a lot of people or most people. In a sense, this will require you to have quite a complete unit in order to reach the damage threshold showcase in today's video. So I have quite a few other videos with regards to Ravaged Realm, like the free-to-play series, as well as my own series, right? Z-Best is my own series. And in today's video, this is called D-Best because we are going to benchmark our score to one of the strongest player in the game right now, which is my friend within the district. So he usually posts his strongest teams as well as damage runs in the server. And in this video, we're going to run through all his teams, the positioning, as well as talk about the rationale of the different units with regards to the boss fight itself. Now, before we start, right, I think you don't actually need Paragon 4 to achieve his damage range, but minimally, I'll say the EX weapon, the charms, as well as I'll say Supreme Plus minimally, and also the artifacts must be similar for you to achieve something close. So the damage might actually vary depending on players, because there could be a higher cap because of RNG, there could also be a lower cap because of RNG factors itself. So you have to actually practice and try these different teams out to see whether or not it works out for you. But based on the score showcase here, if you do have all his units that are like seriously built up to the max, you guys can definitely try his teams out. Okay, so without further ado, let's start with the Immortal squad first. So for the Immortal squad, the best score shared by him right here is 102 mil. I believe he could actually do a little bit better because my tailing was able to do more, even though my tailing was a lot weaker compared to his. So this is my own damage run for today. We did 99 billion. Pretty lucky in terms of my tailing squeezing out a little bit more damage. So there is this RNG factor that I'm talking about with regards to crits, with regards to when your tailing die as well as when your tailing revive. But based on his formation right here, this is the same team that I'm using for my own run, but with a more stacked up account. So the positioning as such, let's run through the positioning first and then run through all the different factors follow up. So starting off with Vaporeon's position, like I mentioned before, Vaporeon's right here because this will be the last tile against the boss itself, and then the boss 4th skill, which has the dead time mark ability, will be able to target this unit. And because Vaporeon's ultimate over here has this ability to be unaffected, which means that when he's casting this ultimate, when the boss casts the pull itself, it will not happen, right? So when the pull doesn't happen, there won't be any stun and there won't be any damage, and this means that your Vaporeon can survive longer throughout the battle to output more damage. At the same time, because Vaporeon, I'll say, is probably the sort of like the weaker unit in the team, considering Vaporeon being the stats, Torrent over here being linked to Vaporeon will be able to take more damage for Torrent's ultimate to hit a little bit harder. Right? So Retaliation takes damage from whatever damage source, absorb it, and then retaliate it to do a lot of damage. So being able to take a little bit more increases the damage from Torrent by a little bit, and that's why we put Torrent as well as Vaporeon in this positioning. Now we have Talon behind our Ludovic here. So Ludovic is here for the charm buff, for the initial 30% attack, as well as the good heals for Talon to sustain the ultimate, because Talon will be burning a lot of HP, and then Talon will be the main damager for the team. So I think the difference between you having Talon and no Talon for this boss fight is quite massive, because Talon's damage output is super duper big. Like if you compare the damage numbers of Talon to maybe like the next best damage dealer right here, it's like nearly 3 times the score. So the difference between a Supreme Plus Talon and no Talon, massive difference. Okay, so if you guys are wondering if you can actually run no Talon and have a good score, it is possible if your district or your server is a little bit more relaxed, but in most cases, Talon is quite crucial to achieve the peak damage itself. Now, with regards to the last unit, is Niru. So Niru is there for the frontlining power to get the Pyro Renewal on Talon onto the boss consistently. At the same time, we are giving additional heals from Niru and sustain to the whole team to just survive better and squeeze out a little bit more damage. So the artifact of choice, Verdant Spell. I mentioned this before. Verdant Spell offers energy regen because for this run itself, the longer your Talon stays alive or the longer your Talon channels the ultimate, the more damage you can do. So when the boss kills Talon, Verdant Spell is able to allow Talon to regenerate energy faster, to ultimate a little bit faster, to pump out that little bit more damage. So that is the key. And later we'll talk about this in the fight itself. But with regards to the charms, let's talk about it. So I think Ludovic's charm is quite important. First of all, Ludovic's heal is quite important for your whole team to sustain better. I think Insight Charm is fine because Insight Charm increases the ultimate as well as the skill power, which gives you more heal anyway, right? You can obviously run the healer's charm if you have the charm set itself, or if you have the additional resources to craft it. But Ludovic, I'll say, is not like the most crucial. Like the heal is important, but Talin's one is way more important. So you need the blast charm on Talin for the ultimate power, as well as the attack percentage. So I think, yeah, this is the one. I think it's called blast charm. So this is because Talin's main damage source comes from divine conflagration. So this charm is super duper important. Another unit which I think is quite semi-important is Viperion, because Viperion is like the next best damage dealer in the team. So any sort of damage to push up the damage number will be good for you to squeeze out a little bit more. So my friend doesn't have his here yet, but I think once he have it, we should be able to see a higher number. And then Torrent's one, for Torrent's case, I think if you want to have a little bit more damage, you can definitely use Insight Charm to squeeze out a little bit more damage from Soul Plunder, as well as the ultimate right here. But if you don't have those, it's perfectly fine, because you just need this very good debuff from the Mythical Plus skill over here to allow all your other damage to hit a little bit harder, and I think that's more than good enough. For Nero's case, same thing. I don't think Nero's super duper important, but having additional heals of the charms itself would be helpful to just maybe squeeze out more heal numbers to keep your units alive. So that will be like the best charm set for the first team. And then for the second team itself, we have Hodgkin. So Hodgkin's main damage comes from the ultimate for this one, because if we take a look at the other skills, this is the survivor skill for more heals and stuff, which you don't really need for damage. And for this one, it's like additional damage, but not that much compared to the ultimate, which hits a lot harder. So the blast charm, similar to Talin, will be quite crucial for Hodgkin right here for the ultimate power, as well as the attack percentage. On top of that, Hodgkin is also able to apply a physical defense debuff to allow Cecile over here, which is a physical attacker, to hit a little bit harder. So Cecile will be the primary carry for the second team, with Carolina being the other carry. So they have quite equal damage, and we are using the resonating spell for this one. So this is the formation, similar to my previous sharing over here. So Cecile with the resonating buff behaves like a Viperion, because resonating buff gives you invulnerability, which means that you not only will not be moved, right? Since you don't get moved, you don't get stunned, and you don't get damage, and you can continuously output damage. And the resonating spell also provides additional energy regen for Cecile to spam the ultimate faster to do more damage from it. Okay, so this is basically the team setup for the second team. Now let's run through the replay and talk about the different caveats. So for this run itself, I mentioned this before in all my other Zeebest videos, but there is this damage benchmark around the 45 build to 50 plus build range, depending on the squad itself, where the boss hits super duper hard. So that's where if you're able to sort of survive a little bit better, luck out a little bit better, like maybe not take crits, or just take the lower end of the damage range of the boss, then you can survive. And then for all you know, because your units managed to survive, you're able to jam in that 1 or 2 build more for you to be like number 1 or 2. So that is those RNG factor that I'm talking about. So right here, we're closing in on that. So once this team reach that 50 build mark, as you guys can see, right, so the boss starts to hit super duper hard, right? Once it goes into red, cast 1 ultimate, and look at the HP, my Talin just instantly melted, and every other unit takes quite a bit of damage. But luckily for Viperion is sort of shielded by Torrent, so that damage, part of it was transferred to Torrent, so Viperion managed to survive, and Viperion did get moved. So right here, you guys can see Talin dying, and when she comes back to life, she's full on energy, so that comes from that Verdant spell energy regen, and this allows Talin to channel the ultimate for that final few seconds to squeeze the damage to around 61 build right here. Okay, so this is the first team. So Nero's job in the team and Ludovic's job in the team is to provide for the heal and sustain. And obviously Torrent is there for a little bit more sustain for Viperion, as you guys can see just now. And that's pretty much for the first team. Now for the second team, let's run through the replay over here. So I'll just run through it 2 times. If you guys want to sort of see the replay at a slower pace, just slow the video to 0.5 times. But right here, our Hodgkin will be going to the front. We'll be taking some of the damage, and then with Cecile at the back with the resonator buff, you can see that Cecile is actually invuln in certain situations where the boss casts the ultimate. This is because invulnerability means that the unit is control immune and the unit doesn't take damage. So this is where the ultimate comes in, no damage. Later on, as we increase the cap. For this team itself, I think because this team doesn't hit that 40, 50 plus build range, so the boss doesn't hit hard enough to kill the team yet, and I think this team is perfectly fine without any heals right here. So the damage benchmark is often split into that big benchmark of 35, 40, 45, 50 build. So this team I think is around the 40 build mark, I think. So it's not like at a range where Thalassa is hitting super hard, and that's why you don't need to run the heals on this team itself. Yeah, so this is 40 build, I think. So still not high enough. The boss is doing some damage, but it's not strong enough to kill off our Carolina here. So 41 build, as you guys can see. So this is where we add up both the damage together, you get your 102 build, very close to 103 build for the Immortal squad itself. Next, let's move on to the Dauntless squad. So for the Dauntless squad right here, let's go into the Dauntless squad. The units are pretty much the same units that I talked about in my own videos, but it's more of a different formation for this one. So the team arrangement is like this. So the first physical team is as such. So it is Seth, Reese, Mikola, Shakir, as well as Kruger, but in this more spread out position. So later on I will talk about the positioning more, because the positioning most of the time is to sort of allow your Seth to be the main beneficiary of the aura buffs itself. So for his, I think maybe he RNG a little bit better, so Seth was able to benefit from the auras better, but Kruger is there for the debuff plus a little bit of damage. Shakir is there for the debuff with a little bit of damage. Mikola, same thing, buffs, auras and stuff. Now Reese over here in this slot is the same purpose as Viperion. Like I mentioned earlier, Viperion will be immune to the pool itself, right? So Reese over here, second skill, has the control immunity, which means that Reese will not be pulled and therefore not stun and damage as well. So Reese is able to output decent damage with the Prime Carrier buff and also take the 4th skill of the boss. So in case you guys are wondering, what is this 4th skill that Zip is talking about? So let me just go through the skills a little bit. The 4th skill over here. So this Colossal Drape right here marks the last unit with a dead time bar. So this reduces their vitality and you will pull the unit to the center, deal damage and stun them. So if you don't get the pull off, you won't be able to do damage and you won't stun them. So that's what I meant by the control immunity stuff. So the best damage dealer in this team is none other than Steph. So I'll say for this team over here, Steph's charm will be quite important because I've tested mine with skill power as well as attack percentage, but I think haste is just a lot better for Seth to steamroll faster for the stacking of the hunting spree skill over here, because you want him to increase the damage from Predator launch as fast as possible. So having additional haste allows him to spam the skill for this skill to increase in damage over time faster. So that's why haste and attack is the best for Seth, this one over here. For Reese one, I think for Reese one, the mythical charm ability is more than sufficient, but the Butcher's charm, or I can't remember what this exact charm is. Let me just go into Reese charm a bit. The one that gives you crit and crit boost. So that is the one for Reese, because Reese has quite a bit of crit inbuilt into the kit for Reese to hit a little bit harder. So right here, I think I'm running the exact same one. Yeah, this one. So this one gives you a little bit more damage on Reese. So this is the Butcher set, crit as well as crit damage percentage for Reese. And then for Shakir, the usual, your best is slot charm for Dream Realm, as well as Mikola, the arcane charm, which gives you skill power as well as attack percentage. So for Kruger's case, same thing, haste and attack. So we're just going to run through the charms one by one once again. Give me a moment. So right here we go into Dauntless. Okay. And then go back into the squad again. So for our Mauler right here, if you go back, okay. So I would say for Kruger's one, this is also decently important because this haste that provided from the charm itself allows Kruger to apply the debuff faster. So Kruger's debuff sticks around for quite a bit. So being able to apply a little bit faster with the increased haste is definitely going to be helpful. And this additional stat increase from the skill itself is going to make Kruger hit that bit harder if you have more stats on him. But most importantly, Seth as the main damage dealer, as well as 2 buffers over here, because I think they are pretty important for a Dream Realm side, and obviously they're going to be super important for the bossing side for the Ravaged Realm as well. So these are their standard charms. And for the second team, we're running the magical team. Odie, Smokey as well as Elsa right here, Resonator buff. So Resonator buff is pretty much the same as the previous rounds this year. So Odie will be able to output damage safely while not being affected by the 4th skill itself. Elsa, being a pretty decent, I'll say mage damage dealer over here, will be able to spam the ultimate from the other side of the battlefield. And these 2 units, they are the strongest outside of Seth in terms of damage dealing in Ravaged Realm from the Mauler class. So this is the damage distribution, as you guys can see. And then this is the damage distribution for the second team over here. And without further ado, let us jump into the replay to see what's the positioning of the units during the battle itself. Okay, so the position is a little bit different from mine because I've tried this build as well, but my unit doesn't position as shown over here. So I'm not sure whether or not it's because of the unit's timing to the skills as well as the spawning of the tentacles itself. So you guys can see right here, Seth benefits from one of the auras because I think Shakir's a little bit far away. And I think Seth also gets the aura from Shakir. Yeah, so this is the position you want. Your Seth just directly in the middle, being able to benefit from the auras itself. So I've tried it myself, but I don't get my units to position like this, unfortunately. So that's that, but this is what you want, right? In terms of the positioning. So your final positioning is to get yourself as chonked up as possible, and then your other units just surviving for as long as possible to just max out the damage. So once we reach that 50 build range, you guys can see the massive damage coming out from the boss, and then our Reese just melted there. So that's why we run frontline spell over here, because frontline spell gives quite a bit of stats with damage reduction and also damage buff to the frontline unit, which is where we are able to squeeze to that 63 build, 64 build mark over here. I'm gonna show the replay and then nothing much to talk about because it's pretty similar to the CCL one in terms of the numbers. So right here, Smokey will eventually die because in this position, Smokey is the last unit, but Smokey's role in the team is to provide for that buff as well as the additional damage from the third ultimate to just give you that more damage. Doesn't matter when your Smokey eventually dies because he has done the job, and that's more than enough for you to max out your damage. So right here, he gets stunned, as you guys can see, and then he stops channeling for a little bit. So this is kind of unavoidable because of how the Mauler's Tau will just shift OD to the front. So initially, I think if this Tau doesn't shift OD to the front, then OD should be the one at the back with the control immunity to take all this stunning from the 4th skill itself. But unfortunately for this one, no, because OD got sent in front. So Smokey will be the last one here. Pardon me for my mistake earlier, but this is how it looks like in battle. So we just channel the ultimate, additional damage with all the buffs. And then Elsa spamming the ultimate right here with OD also hitting super duper hard in the front line. Okay, so I think this one is close to 50. It was 114, right? So the other one is about, yeah, should be slightly above 50. Yeah. Okay, so we are left with OD as well as Elsa over here. Can we squeeze above 50? Okay, slightly above 50 right here, as you guys can see. So this is where we are able to get that over 110 build numbers with this team showcase. So yeah, his units are quite stacked up, so he might be able to squeeze out that little bit of HP to survive longer. That's why. Now for the Sylvan team, okay, now let's move on to the Sylvan team side. So for the Sylvan team, the highest damage shared over here is 110 build with all these different units right here. So let's run through the teams first and then talk about the charms. So we talk about second team, okay? So second team, exact same rationale. 2 very strong units together with your strongest carry, buffed up by Resonator buff, and pretty much the same reason as the previous one for the 4 skill immunity, as well as additional damage boost from the Resonator buff itself. Now, for the first team, so this is the magical team, I think you guys have seen it from my video as well. Now, for this first team over here, we have Parisa, we have Laika, Lenya, as well as Hewin together with Reyna. So in this team, Parisa is the hardest hitting unit, and that's why Reyna is placed in front of Parisa for the mythical charm ability. So pretty much the same as Ludwig. And now Reyna is also there for the debuff with regards to dynamic balance. And then we have our Laika here for the secondary carry, as well as the buffer for the team. So we have Ephemeral Blessing, the attack speed buff with a little bit of physical defense buff for the likes of Lenya as your physical attacker right here. Okay, so Lenya's charm I'll say is quite important if you want to sort of max your damage, because Lenya is like this secondary carry in the team if you take a look at the numbers here. So Lenya's additional damage will be quite helpful in terms of pumping out that 1 or 2 build for you to get better ranks itself. And the reason why we are putting Laika here over Lenya is because of how the Wilder's factional talent work. Because Wilder's factional talent actually benefits the rangers a lot more. And that's why you rather have Laika on the slot over Lenya instead. And if you send in Lenya over here, right in this position, Lenya will be sent in with Reyna's dynamic balance. And your Lenya will be able to survive better because your Lenya has that damage reduction as well as the heal coming out from dynamic balance itself. And then we have an additional heal in here for that massive heals with damage reduction when you have the EX weapon of heal active. So this tranquility is quite important because not only does it provide the heal, it provides for the damage reduction. So when the boss actually casts the ultimate, when the damage dealt is super duper high, you will take a lot less, and that's where you are able to bypass that 45 build to 50 build damage range with this team over here. So we are running the tight core spell for additional damage because we have 5 units spamming our skills, and also the damage reduction for the team to survive better, like I mentioned multiple times. So without further ado, oh wait, let's run through the charms a little bit. So for Laika's charm, I think Laika's charm is okay. I think Laika's charm is something that allows her to sort of deal a little bit more damage, but you can see the damage number is not the most biggest or the most impressive in the team itself. So I guess it's good to have the mythical charm, but I think for the set itself, I think this is okay. So this gives you the additional haste for your skills to come out a little bit faster, for that better ephemeral blessing, as well as the physical defense debuff. And then we have Lenya, I mentioned this, Butcher's charm, more damage with this mythical plus skill, and also Parisa. So Parisa's case, he actually went with Insight. I think Parisa's recommended charm works as well. Insight actually increases damage on the ultimate as well as the second and third skill, and on top of that, right, gives you a little bit more buff to another unit. So I guess Insight is fine as well. I'm using Insight myself, and I'm doing fine in terms of my overall damage. So Insight is okay. If not, the best in slot recommended charm for Parisa in the game is also fine. Then Reyna's one, it's not super important as long as you have the set for this one. This does give Reyna a little bit more damage, but I don't think it's like super duper massive. Then for Huin's case, same thing. I think for Huin's case, either charms work. Obviously, having those inside charms or heal charms will allow you to heal a little bit better, but I think it's fine as long as you're able to time the ultimate to get this tranquility off for your team. And then for this team, I think Brian's charm is quite important. Brian's charm is important because of the mythical plus skill for the additional debuff, so that your Lily May's damage could actually go up another level. So for Lily May's case, it's inside charm right here. For Iron's case, he went with the Cheetah's charm for additional haste. For the Ice Spike spam, right? So Ice Spike spam allows you to give more magical defense debuff so that your backline attackers, they hit a little bit harder. So I guess anything that gives you haste would be good for Iron for that debuffing ability. And then I think this one is not super duper crucial because he does survive quite well with his own shielding ability right here. So yep, this is for the second team, and let us run through this replays. Okay, so we have this start of battle. I'm just going to run everything at a faster pace so that we can actually maximize whatever I can put in this video, because I don't want this video to be way too long. But right here, as you guys can see, we have all the units just hitting a lot faster because of Laika's buff. And this units hitting faster allows you to charge up your ultimate faster for more cycling on your tight core spell over here as well. So the Lenya is always going to be in front doing a lot of damage, and then Huin heals a lot. And when the boss actually casts the ultimate, you can see that the team basically takes no damage right here. This is because of the tranquility buff from Huin's EX weapon. Okay, debuff, and then Lenya in front doing a little bit more. So we are close to that 50 build range, and you guys can see the boss hitting really hard. So right here, Huin gets the ultimates off. Okay, so now the units are dying. Basically, when Huin casts the ultimate, no units are dying, and you can see the whole team just bypassing this 48 build mark. So if you're using Damien might not be able to provide that same effect because you don't get that damage reduction. So specifically for myself, I'm not able to cross this 48 build, and that's why my damage is slightly lower on the Sylvan side. And for this team, as you guys can see, managed to squeeze out that 56, 57 build, 56.5 here. Okay, so we are close to the last 5 seconds. So thanks to Lily May's massive damage and Lily May surviving till the end, we are able to squeeze out that 54.3 build damage right here. So that's for the Sylvan squad, and let us move on to the Aurora squad itself. Now for the Aurora squad, this is the best team shared so far. So 118 build with this setup right here. Let's run through the positioning. I think that's more important. So okay, so he went with Arak, as well as Vala being the prime carrier. Hugin over here for the buff on Vala. So I mentioned this before because I think Hugin and Vala is extremely good in terms of Hugin's mechanized bond mechanics, which consistently buffs up Vala quite well because Vala usually jumps around but jumps back into that position behind Hugin. And then we have Illusion Fresto right here, main Fresto in front of Harald for Harald to spam the ultimate. Sinbad providing for that additional debuff as well as damage if you have your Sinbad built up like his. Right, so yesterday's video, or in my best Aurora squad, I was using Cassidy, but I think my Sinbad's not as built up, so I am using our dear Cassidy instead. So this depends on your own account, but this is this. And then I'll say the most important one, Harald over here, he's using Balance Charm. I heard Butcher's Charm is a little bit better. And then for Vala's one, Butcher's Charm, okay, additional damage of the crit as well as the crit percentage. And then we have Insight on Presto. And then Hugin, we have the skill damage plus the attack percentage, so skill power. So this will give you a little bit, sorry, this is Blast Charm. Give me a second. Yeah, this is Blast Charm, so sorry for that. Blast Charm allows you to increase your attack percentage again from the ultimate itself. So this allows Hugin's buff to be a little bit more impactful at the start of battle. Because why do I say at the start of battle is because Hugin will actually die off quite fast from Harald's Devour. So like this is not gonna stay for very long. It's just for the initial oomph for the push of damage itself. And then we have Sinbad for the debuff as well as additional damage. So charm wise, he's using Gale Charm. I think it does matter because our dear Sinbad's damage output is quite okay, even higher than Presto. So I think to a certain extent it does matter a little bit. So this is damage distribution. And then we have the same team, the same setup, okay? Merrily Corinne with Sonya. So let's run through the replay. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the charms as well as the artifact because it's resonating with the best in slot charm for these usual PvE Dream Realm characters. So we're just going to run through the damage as well as the best damage for the first team itself. Okay, so we're closing into the final few seconds of the boss fight and you can see us crossing that 50 build damage range. And that's where my Merrily eventually fell, but it's fine because Sonya as well as Corinne is still alive. We managed to squeeze out 53 build here from my friend's team. Now let's go back to the first replay. Okay, let's go back to the details. So yeah, resonating spell with all the best in slot, and this is the formation for the second team. Okay, not gonna explain too much because it's pretty similar to the last three. And then we have this one, so let's start the replay. So what this one, observe the Devour order for Harald. So I think the first one should be Illusion Fresto, followed by Hugin, followed by, I'll say either Fresto or Sinbad, and then Vala. Yeah, because the longer Vala stays alive, the more damage Vala can do because of the Prime Carrier buff. And you can see that Vala constantly stays around Hugin at the back line. So that's why you put Hugin in front of Vala right here. So this one we talked about it in my replay. But instead of Sinbad, I was using Cassidy for mine. Okay, so our dear Hugin got bitten. Unfortunately, right here, I think, actually Harald went after Vala over here. I think it's fine because Sinbad does quite a bit of damage based on the numbers earlier. So that's where, because his units are generally stronger, this gives more stats conversion to Harald's EX weapon skill, which means more damage from there. So I guess that makes up for like that biting difference. Okay, so for he was able to squeeze to that 61, 62 build mark, 62, 65 build. Okay, so this is that like slight bit of RNG in the final second to just chomp and then do that big bit of damage there. So that's for the Aurora squad, and that's pretty much it for this video. All the meta team benchmarked to one of the strongest player in the game. Do let me know what you think about this kind of content, and let me know whether or not you have found the best squad for your own account. Thank you very much for tuning in, and do remember to like and subscribe to see more. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.